Hmm.
You see the CNN live feed?
That's hard.
No, I'm saying it kind of looks like CNN network channel 10 our
The
feed.
bottom, yeah, the bottom. Let me try.
This is good because I can see where I'm at.
Yeah, feels that way. Hmm.
You're a coward.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Goddamn right.
compensation.
About to reach for that second round pick.
Yeah. Well, the positive about it, well, I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw some clips. The positive was the way he was talking about Rodgers. That kind of got me a little excited, knowing that somebody like Hardman would sit there and talk about Rodgers in that manner. So that kind of made
Considering
me.
where he's coming from too.
That's what I
It's not
mean.
like he's not coming from
He's
like
a winner.
fucking
He's a
no,
winner.
but not even that. He's coming from the best quarterback in the world. You know
That's
what
what I'm
I'm saying?
saying. Yeah. So
He's
that
not.
kind of felt good. That right. I don't mean I'm not speaking for the Jet fans, but
Is my audio
Well, it's good
going
to see
through?
it. It's good to
Did
it's
when
good.
y'all watching the feed, right? Did y'all hear my audio or no? I
No,
just want
I
to
because
make
I
sure
didn't.
that
I
I
there's
didn't
have it
no
want to
on mute.
fuck.
fucking audio issues.
I didn't want to fuck anything up. Does how that sound? Does it sound robotic or is that
I just want
just
to make
from?
sure that my shit is not muted because I did that before. So, all right, I think we're good. Sorry about that.
No, I'm just saying like like he's not coming. He's not coming from like Baker Mayfield or like Kyler Murray or something like that. He's coming from the best of the best, and
Yeah.
like you said, it's kind of like it's I guess it makes you a little bit optimistic because it's coming from the eyes of a player, not like speculation or anything like that. Not, I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because we saw what that got us. We saw what that got us this year. So what I said, like that really doesn't matter. But in terms of like knowing that he still got it, I guess that's the most important thing. It's like knowing that he still got it, as
Hmm.
opposed to like um as opposed to like assuming that he's going to be there the whole time, or like that he's lost a step or something like that.
Now
So
you're talking about Rogers still got it.
yes.
Got it.
But yeah, no, it sounded promising. He was saying how he got, you know, he got that ability still. So that's dope. And I don't know, man. I see what happens.
But yeah, you could see, like, but you could see like this whole situation is probably why the Chiefs got rid, like didn't want him back in the first place. Like obviously they were glad to get him back because of the situation they found themselves in with, like Kadarius Toney, getting hurt, not being ready, and like the receiving core not really stepping up like they would have hoped, like with not so much Rashid Rice because obviously he stepped up, but with like Sky Moore and some of the other
Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, some of the other guys as well. But
he got cut.
I know, as I said, future
Jet. I don't get, like, he got cut, but it said
you think so?
Upcoming unrestricted. They might be.
I hope so.
Why? For who?
For
Randall
the Jets.
Cobb, I guess.
You hope so for the Jets?
Yeah.
Why are you wishing bad things on the Jets? I get accused of wishing bad things
Cobb?
on the Jets, and you are always the one who low-key wishes bad things on the Jets.
Who you rather have, Lazard?
So with such an earnest face that people don't catch it, but I catch
it.
I see what you're doing.
He does bet on him all the time, though.
Yeah, I always liked him. And secondly, who you rather have, Randall Cobb or fucking Valdez-Scantling? Like that's an easy no-brainer.
I would rather have. There are 4 receivers on the Jets that I would rather have over Valdez-Scantling.
That's crazy. I only could pick one.
I think Lazard is trash. I still like him better than Valdez-Scantling.
Really? Wow.
He has shown more with Rodgers.
He's shown more with Rodgers than Valdez-Scantling did.
Valdez-Scantling is like just fast version of him.
Yeah.
Of Lazard, which is, is fine, but he, like you said, like he just had because he's been on the Chiefs for what, 2 years now?
2 or 3. I think 3 maybe.
I think it was 2.
Okay.
And he's had Patrick Mahomes, and like they've had a need for a wide receiver to show up, and he hasn't really done.
He wasn't very good with the Packers with Rodgers.
Yeah,
he had some.
He was never very good
dropped
with the Packers with Rodgers.
Yeah, he's just like that guy that because he'll always make like a 45-yard catch, but it'll be one catch. Like his stat line will be 1 for 43. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it looks good in the moment because it'll be like in a big moment or whatever. But when like to get to that point, he's not gonna get you to that point. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, but like in terms of Cobb, but still like at least Cobb had this, like he was smart enough to
in their prime. Obviously, no.
But what does Cobb have to do with it? Cobb was getting like a 15% snap share. He's
no,
I'm saying as a third receiver or as a second receiver.
But Cobb wasn't the third receiver. He was the 5th receiver.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying
is, you're talking about replacing Valdez-Scantling with Cobb, yeah, I'm on board. But he was the 5th receiver.
Yeah, but that's my point was, like, at least Cobb offers like helping the other like the younger receivers, like MVS. I don't think
we're still accepting that as fact, truth.
No,
that Cobb was helping the other receivers.
Well, we're
still leaning on that as truth.
No, but he did take Xavier Newman under his wing. Like
Xavier
that, I don't know.
Newman? Who's that?
Yeah. Well, the dude that returned the
Xavier Gibson.
Wow,
you don't even know the names of the players.
Oh, yeah, no. Xavier
came out with Newman.
No. Xavier Newman was an offensive lineman. That's how polluted. He's an offensive lineman that was on. He had to come in at center for the Jets when both the centers got hurt. So it's not It's more of a sickness as opposed to me losing my mind.
Tomato.
Yeah, who
I
was
could
it?
say they're
Gibson.
both one and the same.
Gibson?
But okay, so you're happy you want MVS to go to the Jets. The takeaway from the Mecole Hardman situation was it's nice that he spoke highly of Rodgers. That's what we got.
Well.
So let's move on to the Giants then. There's nothing else.
No.
Like.
Well, I mean, my overall point was like, that's the reason they got rid of. That's the reason they got rid of Mecole Hardman. He's clearly an idiot.
Or the Jets.
Yeah, the Chiefs, and to a certain extent, yeah. Well, I guess to a certain extent, the Jets as well. He's an idiot.
I don't see that, but okay.
I don't understand how that's even debatable for you to put that on wax.
How is it debatable that the Chiefs let Mecole Hardman go because of what? Because of him doing things like he did with the pivot and Ryan Clark?
Yeah, because why? I mean, his skill set didn't change. Like that was just they just brought him back. He didn't make that much money. He did the thing
with Ryan Clark after he had already left the Chiefs. That's my point. His skill set didn't change. They let him go for reasons that had nothing to do. They let him go because they didn't think he was worth keeping on the field.
Yeah, exactly. All of that shit has something to do with it. Like,
yeah, but I don't think Mecole Hardman wasn't some notorious shit stirrer. That's why the Chiefs let him go.
Well, I mean, it's also
to
part
say
of
that now. Revisionist history.
No, we're not gonna go with that. We're gonna go with it's the kind of like the same thing that they kind of did with Tyreek Hill, where it's like they saw what like. They really want to be stars. They really want to be the focal point of attention. They want the spotlight. So like the Chiefs let Tyreek Hill go. You
saying this about Mecole Hardman a week ago before this Pivot podcast?
Well, because he didn't. I mean,
would you have been saying this about Mecole Hardman a week ago before this whole thing with the podcast? Be honest.
No, because he didn't show that. But as soon as
but that's what I'm saying. To now say, oh, this is why the Chiefs got rid of him. I feel like that you're making that up because of current events. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
the point is because he didn't have a reason to he didn't have a reason to be able to talk. Like the reason that he's getting
because you're saying that, but they also traded to get him back. So obviously,
yeah, but they could have had him.
He wasn't bad enough to. He wasn't bad enough, and they weren't concerned about all of this Pivot podcast shit before because he was worth trading for to bring back mid-season.
Yeah, but that was a few weeks earlier. They didn't have to trade for him. They could have just signed him back.
You're making my point.
Yeah, so why didn't they just sign him back?
Because he was not productive enough on the field, and he was coming off of an injury, and they just didn't find it to be responsible to sign him at whatever number that he thought he was going to get, but it didn't have anything to do with his podcast activity.
No. See, this is like the nuances of the shit that we're talking about. Like, I know what you're saying, but they also know like the personality, the traits that and the type of shit that like there's a reason why
they knew him and they thought he was worth trading for to get back. That's why I'm saying this point that you're making of that's why they got rid of him falls on nothing factual.
Well, I don't understand how it's just they needed something. They needed somebody. It's the same.
Yeah,
you can't tell me that's like that they didn't know that fucking Kadarius Toney last year was a bonehead, but they just said like, okay, we'll bring him here. And like with this infrastructure and obviously the market as well kind of helps because there's not as many like
he was and they had him on the roster.
Yeah, but he's still an idiot.
Hardman was, and they had him on the roster. They let him sign with the Jets, and then they traded to bring him back on the roster.
Yeah, because they needed him.
Okay, so them needing him has been the same. It did not whether he. My whole point is that the podcast activity is not the reason why they didn't want to. Had nothing to do with them signing or not re-signing him.
But what the point is, him leaving. I'm like, my point is like, there's always those like. I guess it happens more with wide receivers. I guess they want to be bigger stars. So there's a reason why he chose to go to New York and be with Aaron Rodgers, he thought he was going to be a bigger star. Then when he didn't see that it was happening, obviously, whatever, I guess the
Yeah,
tampering
that's all
charges that
fine.
they
All
should
I'm
look
saying
into.
is that did not factor it. The Chiefs did not get rid of Tyreek Hill because he wanted to be a star. They got rid of Tyreek
It's
Hill
part
because
of the
they
reason.
didn't want to pay him.
No, it's part of the reason.
If they could have afforded to keep him at a responsible number, they would have been willing to deal with whatever trying to be a star he was going to be if they could have him producing on the field. The same way that they were willing to deal with whatever star Mecole Hardman wanted to be when they had a need at wide receiver.
I mean,
The need on the field will ultimately trump whatever you're talking about when it comes to podcasts. And Mecole Hardman was not this notorious, want to be in the spotlight guy.
Yeah, but I always felt like there was something off with him. Like he's so fast, but nobody could really utilize him, and then he's always fumbling and key
He's
moments.
not
And
very
I
good.
think,
He's a
yeah,
mediocre
I'm telling you,
receiver. That's my point. Is that that's the reason why they didn't want to keep him, because
Yeah.
he was not super productive. He didn't have the best hands in the world. He had injury problems, and he was going to command a contract that did not make sense for them in their
but
in
it's
their cap
that, but he
situation.
didn't. He commanded. He got $4 million. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing crazy.
mhm. It was really the Chiefs got him back only because their receivers didn't pan out, and they were
That's what I'm saying.
in bad position. They were in a bad position with no receivers. They only had Rice, and Kelsey wasn't balling all year until the playoffs. And then they was like, yo, who else we gonna bring back? Fuck it, this kid knows the playbook. Bring him back in. And he obviously reached out to the fucking GM. You know,
Yeah,
so I
tampering.
think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think he definitely has some kind of locker room thing that we might have not known, but we kind of were kind of hinting
this is
to
why,
it.
and this is why this is exactly the point of what I was saying from the beginning.
Yeah.
Is because neither of y'all listened to the full podcast. There was
Yeah.
a lot of context that he provided in both his experience with the Jets. Obviously, the only thing that makes headlines,
It's a negative.
specifically in New York, is the negative, especially when it's about the New York team. So obviously, all that came out of that in terms of headlines and in terms of clips that you're going to hear being passed around and being talked about on podcasts and on radio is going to be all the shit that he said, all the negative shit that he said about the Jets and the stuff that he said about Aaron Rodgers. But if you listen to the whole podcast, he provides a much bigger picture about what his relationship is like with the Chiefs front office, what his relationship is like with the coaching staff, what his relationship is like with Kelsey and Mahomes in the locker room, all of this stuff. And obviously it's it's his side, it's his perspective. But that's why I'm just saying it's difficult. I watched the whole podcast and I got insight into what he was specifically talking about when it came to the Jets and about what was different when he was saying that I know what winning looks like, and obviously everybody's killing him. Oh, you know what winning looks like, and you didn't really do anything. Blah 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 blah. But if you watch and listen to the entire podcast, the entire conversation, I actually didn't even feel like he was talking bad about the Jets. Like, he didn't come across as somebody, to me, who was looking to had some type of bad vibes, bad feelings, scorned lover type of attitude towards the Jets. He didn't come across that way. The whole time he was just like, first of all, the dude just seems like he's just happy to be here type of dude. And he was just saying, he was just way too comfortable, it seemed like, and he didn't know like what the ramifications of some of the things he was saying was going to be. But that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to assume that this type of incident is the reason why the Chiefs didn't want to keep him, when, again, in that conversation, he wasn't talking bad about the Jets. He just was talking too much, probably. But
Yeah, but I'm saying he pretty much said that they fucking tampered. That, I mean, how do you not know that that's gonna be? Like, you got to be kind of.
he didn't say that they tampered. He didn't say that they tampered. When he was talking, I mean, I could pull up the audio and we could play it, We can go through that whole exercise. I mean, I don't think that that's good for a show, but like, if you watch the where the conversation was going and just the candid way that he was talking about the whole thing, he was talking the way you talk with your homeboys, like even when he was like, yo Veach, yo Pat, come get me, you could say that in a way that's not literal. You know what I'm saying? You could say that in a way that's not, I literally called the GM and said, come get me. That's not the way that he said it. If you just take the clip and the way that it was being presented by the rest of the media and the aggregators, they've made it come across like he came out and straight up said, yeah, I called these niggas and I was like, yo, come get me. That's not the way that the conversation was going. That's not the way that he said it. He said it in a much more flippant, candid, kind of almost kidding on the square kind of a way. Now, granted, that type of thing, you can't really kid about it because you start to have problems and, you know what I'm saying?
That's my point.
Okay. Go ahead. Run the show.
No, I just said that. All I said was that's my point.
I don't know what your point is, but okay. You got it. You're right. That's why the Chiefs got rid of him, because of this.
No, we were talking about multiple things, but my point was, it's like, even if you say, like, you say stuff, you can say, you know, oh, I told him.
What were the Nicole Hardman public misstep incidents before this? Because I must have missed them. Where were they? What were they?
I mean,
I was unfamiliar with his podcast and all these mistakes that he had been, you know, all these problems that he was causing for the Chiefs with his public commentary beforehand, and that's the reason they get rid. I wasn't aware of this, so help me out.
Yeah, nah, he never really had anything like that, right? I don't think so.
Apparently he did, and that's the reason that the Chiefs didn't want to bring him back.
I always
even
felt
though
like
they traded to bring him back, but that's the reason why.
I always felt like, I guess, like when you see some talent, it's like Darius Tony, like you see talent, and then it's not like the team is not utilizing them or whatever. You kind of start thinking, okay, what's the issue? What's the problem? You know what I'm saying?
He
and
told the story. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
because you just said what's the problem, and this is something that I didn't know about until I watched and listened to the podcast. And I don't think anybody really knew about this. He told a story about his hip injury. Do you know about his hip injury?
No, not his hip, but I know he was injured.
Did you know that he almost wasn't able to walk again?
No, I didn't know that.
This was last year.
Talk about that.
Huh?
Was this last year?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
So I was unaware of some of the specifics regarding his injury last year, because I remember kind of monitoring him from afar while he was throughout his several years with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because, pure example, if you play fantasy football, you know, if you're looking for a spot wide receiver to start for the last couple of years, obviously before this past year, if you were looking for somebody, you might be looking for who's the third or fourth receiver on the Chiefs. Maybe he can grab me a TD. I know this kid Hardman has had a couple of touchdowns or had a couple big games. Maybe I'll pick him up, whatever. But so I became aware of him a while ago. I've been kind of watching him, and I had the same kind of thought, like, is he good? Is he a product of just what's going on in Kansas City? Is it that he's too young and he's going to grow into a more prominent role with the Chiefs? Like, is he going to be like a bona fide number two? And then when they traded away Tyreek Hill, obviously everybody's question was going to be, who's going to be the next person to step up? Who's going to be the number one? Is it going to be Hardman? Is it going to be Demarcus Robinson?
Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson. Is it going to be him? And then they signed Juju, and is it going to be him? And nobody really knew. And I had a similar thought, because I was thinking to myself, like, I feel like this kid Hardman, he's young, he showed promise. They brought him there for a reason. Like, why is he not able to pop with this team? And it never really happened. He had a really good start to last season, and I remember thinking, there it is. Maybe it's gonna pop off. And then he got hurt, and I didn't really know what the specific injury was, but he was hurt and he missed a couple of games. And then I remember reading that he was trying to come back, but he was he was going through drills, whatever. When you're monitoring somebody's, whether they're gonna play or not, when it comes to football. And then I remember him just never really coming back, or he came back and was never really getting the snap count that I thought he was going to get. So I didn't know if it was a function of they don't believe in this kid, or if there's a problem outside of that with this kid, or is he still hurt? And then he leaves, he signs with the Jets, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm anxious to see if he can build off of what he had at the beginning of last season with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, things didn't work out with the Jets, so then I was thinking, okay, maybe this kid's just trash. Maybe he just can't play. Then when he was on this podcast and he told the story about his injury, he said that he had a game. I mean, I'll just give you a brief summary of how he described, what I remember from how he described the injury. He said they played a game. He said he said that he was excited about last year because he wanted opportunities. Tyreek was gone. He wanted to be the guy. He got off to a good start in the season, and then after a game, he said that he had gone home and he started to feel like real bad pain in his stomach, kind of out of nowhere, and he said that like it just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. He called the trainer and he said that I guess his girl was there and like she had to like help him walk. He started to like not be able to walk, and that he had to go to the emergency room. He went to the emergency room, and I forget what the exact name of the whatever he was diagnosed with, something pelvic, some weird shit. And he said that he went to the emergency room. He said when he got to the emergency room, they sat him in a wheelchair, and now he did not stand up or walk for 5 days.
Damn.
And he was in the hospital in the bed. He had bed sores from being in the bed, and he wasn't able to move. He says the worst pain he ever felt in his life. The doctors at first couldn't really figure out what it was, and then it turned out that he had some pelvic condition. I forget exactly what it was, but so then he said he leaves, he gets out, and then he was trying to he went back to practice. He said he was running some drills, running some routes, and he was able to run, but whenever he would try to turn upfield, whenever he was trying to pivot his legs and his hips were locking up, and he would like immediately like be forced to stop. So he was having real bad hip problems. So then he said he was able to I guess through all kinds of crazy shit that they do in the NFL to get you to play on the field, whether it was injections or massages or whatever it was that they were able to like, okay, are you able to go run a couple routes for us? So he said he went out and he tore his groin trying to manage the hip issue. And he said that when he tore his groin, then it was over. It was officially out. He wasn't able to come back for the season. And he said that when he had groin surgery, that the surgeon who performed the groin surgery said that he had so much, I think he said it was like scar tissue and calcification buildup in his hips that like that was what was causing him all kinds of hip problems with walking, and that he was like that had he not torn his groin, there's no telling how bad that condition might have gotten.
Wow.
So I tell you all this just to say that was something I had no knowledge of.
Yeah.
That he had gone through that physical experience the year prior. And when you don't know shit like that, like I said, I was looking at this kid when he went with the Jets, and when it didn't work out, and when it seemed like he couldn't really get his career kick started that last season with the Chiefs, I'm thinking like, yo, this kid, he don't got it. You know what I mean? Or there's some problem with him. Not knowing that he dealt with a real serious physical issue. You know what I'm saying? So that my point is that when we don't know these types of things, you can make assumptions about a kid can't play, or that this is happening, or that is happening. But we don't know half the shit that is happening when it comes to like physical shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that like having watched that, having heard him describe that situation, having heard him give a whole bunch of like a full timeline and put into perspective what his experience with the Chiefs had been, and what his experience was in free agency, what it was when he went with the Jets, what the expectations were, what kind of opportunities he thought he was going to get. It puts into much greater context where his career is and what may have what may have went wrong with the Jets, because it sounded like to me, because like you listen to those you listen to the clips that everybody's been playing, that he's been talking about with his time with the Jets in terms of the relationship he had with the special teams coordinator, and not, am I going to return punts? Am I not going to return punts? You're telling me I'm not going to return punts, then fuck you. I'm not going to return punts. So you asked me to return punts. All that shit, like, the whole time in this, there was a common thread throughout this whole podcast that he was talking about. And there was a lot of shit that he talked about, but there was one thing that I made note of, and that he was talking about wanting opportunities. And that when he first came to the Chiefs, he was like, you got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce that are absorbing such a huge volume of the pass game, that he understood that there was going to be limited opportunities for him there. Now, listen, maybe this is just him justifying why he couldn't play. But all I'm saying is that from what he's saying, and to me that does make sense. Like, you know what I mean? That's why I was excited to see what he was going to become with the Jets, because I was like, yeah, the dude he's been battling with different injuries. And yeah, the dude has been behind you could say the two best people at their position for at least the last 5 years, right? But both on the same team in the passing game, right? So like, yeah. I could see how maybe he is nicer than we think, and he hasn't been gotten opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I hear about shit like that type of injury shit that he dealt with, and then if you think about it, that the team knew about this injury shit that he's dealing with, that to me puts more context into why the Chiefs. The dude came up with a contract situation. He wasn't there for us at the end of last year. He came back and then he got hurt again. And maybe they're just viewing it like this dude physically is not worth the trouble. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't been able to stay healthy. You know what I mean? Coming off of a very serious pelvic injury, we don't know what he's gonna be like. You know what I'm saying? So there's just so much more that goes into it that you don't know about. We don't know about. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying, is that like that type of shit, when you get a broader context of, some of these clips and these quotes that be coming out, and when you, because that's the thing, is that like so many of these things come out from these podcasts, and like these podcasts are not interviews. You know what I'm saying? These podcasts are just conversation, and the conversation is very different than an interview. Like if I'm talking to somebody and I'm being interviewed, the way that I respond and the things that I say are going to come out differently if you just take the question and answer, as opposed to if I'm having a conversation with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, we having a conversation about something, and I'm telling you about everything that happened to me last year and everything that happened to me the year before, and I may describe one specific incident or one specific situation in a way in the grand scheme of everything I'm talking about, and it's not going to come across the same if you just hear one question and answer, especially if it's in the midst of a candid conversation and not a formal question and answer interview.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's all fair, but like to your point, like everybody else has probably similar stories. I mean, obviously if you listen to it and it, de facto it, but like just because somebody else hasn't talked about it, so that's like what in general what I'm saying is like a whole bunch of other players go through all of these, especially in football, because obviously like the type of shit that they gotta go through to get ready for game day and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean that's he's applying the context for that, but like sure there's plenty of other people that we don't have that context for either. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's still a matter of like
other people. We're talking about him.
No, but I'm saying like the actual words that you say, like you still know, like you can't say certain shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like there's certain things that you shouldn't.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, did you find this history of Nicole Hardman stepping in it publicly in conversation? Because again, I don't know that to be his reputation. And if you're telling me that the Chiefs got rid of him because of that type of thing, this is the same Chiefs team that when Tyreek Hill left, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who wanted to be the biggest fucking gamer, streamer, TikToker in the fucking NFL.
Yeah. There's a reason
so none of that really adds up. My point is that that shit had nothing to do with why the Chiefs didn't want to keep him. The Chiefs didn't want to keep him for a myriad of reasons, and at the bottom of the fucking list was the fact that he wanted to be on podcasts or wanted to be a star. There've been plenty of players that have come out of the NFL and that specifically that have been with the Chiefs that want to be, stars or whatever. At the end of the day, is how productive are you on the fucking field and how much is it going to cost us under the cap? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They have fucking Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift. Like, they're not gonna fucking. They don't want it. They can't stand to have Nicole Hardman on the team because he fucking is making mistakes on a podcast.
That made them a shitload of money though.
Hell yeah.
Okay, then, but then you can't have both ends of the argument. You can't have, oh, well, they like it because it makes them money. Like, you can't have both sides. Like, that's not gonna add up.
Well.
Anyway, I'm just saying, if that was the takeaway, this is exactly why I didn't even want to get into this, because if that was the takeaway, then that was the takeaway. Fine, okay, Nicole Hardman. This is exactly
Bad
why
guy.
the Chiefs got rid of him. This is
Soft man.
yes, this is what it is. Clearly,
I should have watched it when it fucking came out.
what, the Pivot podcast?
Yeah, them shits is
Now
too
it's gonna
long,
be
man.
irrelevant then.
No, it's just it's fucking long. This is why I was saying, like, this is why I'm like, I fucking if I know we're gonna talk about something, like, I feel like I have a responsibility to really fucking
definitely.
fill myself in, but it just takes too much time. Like, I was just listening to the and the other thing, I was just saying this to somebody, that everybody has a podcast, and I want to give them all a chance, especially the athlete ones. Everybody else's podcast, I don't give a fuck
It's not
about.
enough time.
But the athlete podcast, I want to give them all a chance. But pure example, Dwayne Wade just started his joint, and I forget. I think his first guest was Pat Riley, and I was like, I can't. I'm not gonna sit through an hour of Pat Riley talking to Dwayne Wade. He gonna have to get me with the next guest. And then I saw that he had Melo, and I was interested in what Melo might say, because I've been listening to a lot of Melo's. I've been listening to a lot of. I've watched every episode of Melo's show that he does with Miro. And you, as a Giants fan, Word Life, I don't know if you've seen it, but as a Giants fan and as someone who I think appreciates Melo, I think you should watch the Kayvon Thibodeau episode, because that was very interesting, and I got a lot of insight into some things with the Giants. Again, from his perspective, some things with the Giants. He talked, and again, that's another instance where they take a clip from a conversation. The only thing that made it out of that conversation with Kayvon Thibodeau and Melo was when they were talking about the Daniel Jones contract and the Saquon contract. No, what were you saying?
Yeah, Saquon, yeah.
Because that was the only thing that I saw anybody really pick up and talk about. But it was funny because the audio quality on that was not as good, because that show is so candid. They were like, everybody's laughing at the same time. So like, they really couldn't even play it. So I feel like that's the reason why the media outlets didn't run more with what he had said. Because I think I saw that DiPietro and Rothenberg talked about it briefly, or somebody on ESPN Radio New York talked about it. I forget who it was, but they had talked about how Kayvon Thibodeau said that when it came down to the Daniel Jones negotiations and the Saquon Barkley negotiations, he said that he felt like they should have taken care of Saquon first.
Yeah.
And I forget. I wish I could remember who was commenting on it, who was talking about it. But
I think it was Rick DiPietro.
I feel like it was, but they were saying that they took that and they took a point of view based off of that one quote that really didn't have full appreciation for the entire conversation that they were having, because he talked about a lot of things, and he's an interesting dude. Like I said, I think you should watch it, because he said a lot of interesting things. But he was talking about a much bigger topic. They were talking about like having ownership of your brand, and how what you pass on to other people, and how to work your brand, and talking about business and contracts, and like it was such a bigger conversation. It wasn't like Carmelo asked him, "So what do you think, Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley?"
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's how they treat it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they take that response and they take it like it
It's
was a
true.
conversation about this or that, Saquon or Jones. Who should they assign?
Pick
Oh,
one.
you pick one. You pick Barkley. Therefore, you don't think Daniel Jones is very good. You don't think he's worth the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
it was never about that. Like, he gave Daniel Jones mad love and mad props, and he gave the coaching staff mad love and mad props. But obviously, that's the one thing that, you know, becomes hot and controversial. But in the conversation, it wasn't hot or controversial at all. Like, because he was talking about something way bigger than that one specific decision that Shane had to make when it came to contract negotiations. Like, that wasn't even what the conversation was about. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's why I fucking listen to these full joints and the fucking. So I had been listening to the Mellow joint. And then when I saw when Melo was on the Dwayne Wade joint, I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. And then I started watching it. I was like 40 minutes in, and it was interesting, and it was good, but I don't got all the time like that. I was like watching it, it's 40 minutes in. I'm like, yo, how long of this shit got left? I'm like, yo, this shit is 2.5 hours. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
it's
I'm
like,
just
yeah,
scratching
you
the
know,
surface on this shit.
If I would have gone, you know, if I would have been to
much,
Miami like how I was supposed to, man, we probably would have won all four.
Well,
You know
that's
what I'm
the other
saying?
thing. I'm
Like
surprised.
that's the shit that like you can't like for example you could take an athlete's word to a certain degree, but then it's like you know they throw a whole bunch of bullshit just like we do talking. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
they look at it like the athlete has the unlimited amount of delusion to where it's like it doesn't like they could see it and they'll say shit like it's fact. But yo, nigga, like you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it was me instead of Bosch out there, shit, we probably would have done the 5, not 6, not 7, not 8.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's funny that you say that because Melo is somebody that I personally have had real mixed feelings about
True, yeah.
because I've loved his game. I always had respect for him because I felt like he wanted to be in New York. But between all of the things that you hear from, and it's weird because like when you look at how people are talked about, like athletes are talked about, I always felt like when it came to coaches, reporters, talking people on TV, talking about basketball, they never talked about Melo the way that players talked about Melo. Like
Yeah.
players in the league treated Melo with way more respect and had way more reverence for Melo than any of the coaches or you know the people who didn't really have that peer-to-peer experience with him. And I was always kind of like, you know, when you're a fan or when you're, you know, a third party, you're not in the media or you're not an athlete and involved in that type of way. I'm looking at it and I was always kind of like what I see and what I can, you know, what the tangible things about Melo that I was a fan of and that I had respect for. But then I was always kind of like, because I remember when he signed that deal, when Phil Jackson came and he signed that big deal, and then like it seemed like all the other superstar players were kind of taking smaller deals and kind of giving themselves more maneuverability so that they can, you know, eventually go to a team and win a championship. And I remember it really looked as though Melo was just like, I'm just gonna grab this bag, and you know I could fucking hold out and wait and fucking go to a better team, or I could maybe leave more space so that more people could come to the Knicks. But it came across like he was just trying to get his bag. And Melo has always been somebody who's never really said much. You know, he hasn't given a ton of interviews. He's been pretty private about most things. He don't really talk a lot of shit. Like, you know, he's he's both a very well-known presence, but at the same time a very mysterious person. Like you never really knew a lot about him. He didn't really do a lot of that. You know, there was never a big deep dive, you know, long form interview that anybody did with him. You know what I'm saying? And like, even that weird thing that Stephen A. Smith did with him when he had him on First Take for like an hour after he had been out of the league for 2 years, and it seemed like they were trying to get him to beg to be back in the league. That was uncomfortable for me to watch too. But I always felt like I never really knew how to feel about Melo. Like I had love for him because he came to New York and he balled out, and like, you know, that will always, you know, have a notch for me. But I was always also kind of like, when people say, oh, he's not willing to do what's best for the team. They were saying that he had beef with Jeremy Lin because Jeremy Lin was taking too much shine, and like you hear these things, and some of them match up with the actions, but they don't fully match up, so you don't really know how to feel about it. And I feel like from watching this show with Melo, the one he's doing with Mero, and from watching what I what I was able to the stamina I had to watch the thing with him and D Wade, I feel like I've gotten so much more of an insight into Melo's perspective. And you could say whether you want to say that it's overconfident, delusional, whatever it is, I still can get more from hearing it from the person say it, and especially when we get these podcasts or there's a video component and you can read the body language, you know what I'm saying, and you can see what people are how they're coming across, what they're saying. I have a totally different perspective on Melo now after watching him speak a lot and talk about a lot of things in his career. He talked a lot about, I mean, with the Dwayne Wade thing, he talked about his very early childhood. He talked about, and that's another thing that I've always kind of been confused as to, like, where's Melo from? Does he claim Brooklyn? Does he claim Baltimore? Which one is it? Because everybody wants to. It seems like everybody wants to claim Melo. Like New York people want to claim him, but at the same time, he has that Baltimore background, and I know that he has shown love to Baltimore. So people are like, nah, he really feels like he's from Baltimore, but after getting more insight into that and hearing him talk more thoroughly about it, I feel like he's just not that type of. When he was playing, he was never really that type of long talker to give full explanation. Like, he was a quick, he talked when he absolutely needed to. He give you a short quote and you take it how you want. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he got to a point where he was like, they're gonna say whatever they want, and I'm just not. I think, to tell you the truth, I think he actually said to Dwayne Wade, or in one of these conversations, he alluded to the fact, he was like, I'm not like that type of charismatic type of dude, like as far as like when it comes to how he brands and markets himself, like that just wasn't his style. He's much more of a quiet, laid back type of dude. And
it could be like a Kawhi type, where all he's interested in is in ball. Even to a certain degree, even Kevin Durant, where like his brand has been
He did another long form interview that I watched in full too.
Like his
You
brand
saw
has
that?
been hijacked as like like he's a crybaby, this is that, but he just likes to play basketball.
Yeah.
Like he's not worried about all this shit.
Last week, KD did a full hour-long interview for the Boardroom, his his platform of whatever content, and I watched that too, and I got some insight into KD. In that it wasn't as good. I didn't find it to be as good as some of the stuff I've seen from in other places, but I feel like he is even more extra guarded, even more so than Melo now. I think probably because he's still playing. Like Melo I never seen any of this. Like I was surprised that Melo was even doing a podcast. Like he just didn't come across as that type of dude.
Well, on top of that, like Melo was in New York City for the Knicks. Like even Kevin Durant, like he played in New York, but it was like New York adjacent. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that the team was covered. So it makes it it just highlights it even more.
Yeah.
Because like going back to that, you don't really see Melo. And like I was there for the 62-point game against the Bobcats. Like, and even so, it's like they talked about it for like one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even like a big thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it goes to like how New York kind of really tried to like, oh, you gotta win a championship. You know what I'm saying, before something. But it's like, yo, that goes back like what you were saying with like the players respect them more than like everybody else. It's like because the players know how hard it is to play the game. Like, all the idiots and even anybody who talks like fans or whatever, like, oh yeah, but he's gotta win the big one, like he's gotta win a championship. But it's like, yo, only in the NBA, only 15 people a season can claim to be an NBA champion. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and there's 15 times 30 in the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, it's such a like easy like, oh yeah, oh he's not gonna win. Like, well, you know, they always talk about Bird and like Parrish and like and the Celtics and all stuff. Like, yeah, when there was fucking 8 teams in the league, it's a lot easier to fucking win than when there's 30 and all the talent is spread out. Like that's kind of like I think that's kind of like the problem with like the old people that talk about the sport and like and hold certain uh like winning a championship to a certain degree. Like if you don't win, it's because you weren't that good. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So
the
like that kind of like
custodians of the
pollutes
game.
yeah, that it pollutes everything. It's like it's why people talk about the game like the way they do. It's like, yo, all these fucking these everybody who's in the fucking league is a winner. They just haven't won the NBA championship. I'm sure they've won fucking high school championships, AAU championships. It's like, yo, but that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, LeBron's been in the league for fucking 20 years. Like, granted, obviously, other, like all the other teams have been, winning. Like in the, he only has 4 championships only, let's say. But if you look at it, how many teams have won championships in the last 25 years? It's like 6 or 7 teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's changing now as athletes are getting to talk on their own terms much more. They're able to do these podcasts and these shows. But that's the thing is that like that's another reason why whenever I have a chance and I'm lucky, I don't fucking have kids or anything. I got nothing but time. I could fucking sit there and watch this. I could watch fucking Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony talk for 2 hours if I really want to. But like, but that's why like now that they have these platforms and now that they, I understand that when it comes to journalism and documentaries, when you have a third party telling the story, you're more likely to get a both sides perspective. But even whoever's doing the documentary, they're gonna have their own perspective on it too. So
usually
like,
they're a fan or something like that.
yeah,
Like,
so that's why like now that I have the opportunity with these dudes that they can talk more, Dwayne Wade and Melo, literally just sitting there, fucking longtime homies, sitting there sipping wine and just talking about everything for the last couple of years. Like, I try to, even though it's not produced and packaged as well as something that is done for ESPN or for one of these, big time broadcasters, it's not packaged the way that you're used to. It may not be as exciting, start to finish as we're used to, but I always try to give it the full, as much of my time and as much of a listen as I can, because when you get that full story, like hearing Melo talk to Dwayne Wade about all this shit from Denver with George Karl and talking about the Olympics and like I said, he's been an athlete that has been, if you've been a New Yorker, he has been a part of the New York sports, a big part of the New York sports fan culture, exactly, for like the last there's a handful of people that I will put like on the whatever top 5, top 10 New York athletes of our lifetimes, and I feel like I will put him on it. And he's always I've always had this kind of weird feeling about what his time has been like in New York, what he was all about. It was always kind of mysterious, and like to get this insight now is just like it just changes the way I look at things. I'm like, yo, like when he was talking about shit with like his relationship with his pops was locked up, and like when you hear that just kind of as a footnote or as an anecdote that they tell about him that you're hearing from some person in ESPN, or even if they take these conversations that he has, like I was just gonna say, part of me feels like the reason why some of these dudes do these super long joints is because they like, if you want to fucking take this shit and take a clip and aggregate it, you're gonna have to listen to 2 hours of this shit. Like, I feel like they're setting up like a trap or something.
Yeah, you're gonna have to look for the golden eggs.
Yeah, but like,
you're gonna have
like,
to sit
they could somebody could. I'm sure that there's plenty of things that somebody could easily take from that conversation with Dwayne Wade and Melo, and just fucking make him look bad for whatever reason. There's plenty of ways to do it. Manipulate it, and then it gets circulated in ESPN and gets talked about, and it just doesn't provide the full context. And like again, it's the athletes. They're always going to give their perspective, and their perspective is always going to be very biased. It's always going to be looking out, for themselves for the most part, we can assume. But to me, just to see somebody talk about it, like watching Kayvon Thibodeau talk with Mero and Melo, I had I got a whole different impression of Kayvon Thibodeau, like off of that. Like after all the things that I kind of heard about him through the draft process, some of the things that they had said about him, and the little footnotes of things that I would see that people would say that he posted or that he said, or the whatever little locker room quote he gave to the Giants beat reporter, like it paints a picture of him. And not to say that that's not a fair, accurate picture, but I feel better now having watched him talk in a different type of setting, different type of circumstance. I have a totally different impression of him. Like he's. It's funny because I feel like a lot of the things that they say about him is true in terms of like him wanting to be a star and wanting to be, wanting to be a big personality, and like some of the stuff that they've kind of said that was like a reason why people didn't want to draft him, because he's too concerned with the limelight and this and that, and he's more focused about being a star than playing football, whatever. Like I remember hearing that shit about him, and to be honest with you, after watching that shit, it's not that it's not true, but the way that they present it makes it seem like he's just a greedy, selfish type of dude. And after hearing him talk much more naturally and much more conversationally, like I have a totally different respect for his mindset when it comes to branding and how he views his time in the NFL, and what he want. Like he talked about that he wanted to be a basketball player. Like he wanted to be in the NBA. He was talking about
because
playing.
they're more famous.
He was talking about playing with Draymond Green, and like he just talked about a lot of shit. And I was like, yo, this dude, like he's his thought process, whether I'm a fan or I think he's an asshole, that's not even the point. I'm just saying, like, there's so much more. It's such a bigger picture. There's so much more to it than like the little bit that they paint of him based off of those quotes and shit like that,
Yeah.
Like I gained a whole different type of respect for like what his vision is and what how he views being a pro athlete, how he what he wants out of life. You know what I mean? Like it's just that type of shit interests me.
It's dope to hear. Yeah, I get you.
But the Giants, Joe Shane, they're taking a quarterback. Right? Didn't he see you if you made it official?
That smile on your face is
but
like
he said that though, right? That was one of the quotes that came out of his I guess meeting with.
Yeah, but he didn't say. Yeah, but did he confirm it, or I think it was more of.
I think he confirmed they're adding a quarterback. He didn't say where. He didn't say who. He didn't say draft. Exactly. He didn't say free agent. But he confirmed that they're adding a quarterback.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, though. It's even that in and of itself, I feel like it's interesting because they obviously have Daniel Jones under contract. Yep. I don't know what their plans are for. I know Tyrod's an unrestricted free agent, right?
Yeah, I think he's unrestricted. Yeah.
And then is DeVito under contract still, or?
Yeah, because I think the undrafted rookie free agents, they usually sign 3-year contracts.
Well, listen. What's usual and what my man Sean Stiletto does is this whole different ball. No, I don't know. I assume he was
Stellato had him DeVito sign a contract with invisible ink. So they put the fucking they put the contract in the thing, and then they pulled it. No. You guys haven't signed it. Wait a minute.
And then he probably keeps the pen in that green hat that he wears. Nigga out there looking like a villain.
Yo, remember the back villain. Of the Cheek specifically. Yo, you remember the back of the comic books, or like in the comic books, or you could buy, like you could send, like back in the day, and you
Yeah,
could cut it out and you can say like disappear it, like you could buy
yeah,
a
yeah,
pen
yeah.
with disappearing
Uh-huh.
ink.
Uh-huh.
Like this nigga bought like, oh wait, you could buy X-ray glasses and shit
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Remember that? Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Invisible ink pen. That's crazy.
So you want them to draft a quarterback,
Yeah, honestly,
a
it's tough
specific
because
quarterback, or
we got the sixth pick, so it's like the top three is not gonna be there. As much as I hope they fall, I don't think they're gonna be there. And honestly, I don't want May. So it's kind of like if it's between May and going down in the draft, I almost rather go down in the draft. I kind of want to see I want to see this Dable with his quarterback. I kind of want to see what he really does with it. He's gonna be there for another year, so at least the minimum another year, right? So if I want to give him
Dable,
his yeah, Dable,
yeah.
yeah, I want to give him his quarterback, man. He's supposed to be the QB whisperer, so I want to see what he can do with one of these guys. I kind of like I said, man, I might eat those words with the whole May thing, but I almost want to see him try to get like a Penix Jr. Penix, like if he falls down to the second round or something like that. I feel like that kid got I think because of his injury, got a he got a bad rep. But I would love to see Dable with that kind of with that kind of talent. But if
He's
we can
black.
move, yeah, I know. If we can move all the way up to get Caleb, that'll be great. But I don't think that's gonna happen, man. I think the Bears are picking. I think the Bears are taking him, and they're getting rid of Fields. And
Did
recently,
you
I
see
think Fields was like
Fields video?
celebrating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I was just gonna ask.
celebrating. And then I guess
Yeah, you
his
saw that,
his
Flex?
No.
There was a video on social media of I think was it his manager or his agent that they said that posted it.
his agent says we're going home or something within those.
So he's in a video. There's just the only video I saw was he's like in his kitchen with no shirt on. At first, I didn't even know it was him. I had to watch it a couple times. He's like in the kitchen with no shirt on, and I guess it appears as though he just got some news. He just got some news,
Also,
and he's jumping up, celebrating.
So this is like the Antonio Brown situation.
It sounds kind of similar. It does sound kind of similar. He didn't jump into a pool though. Isn't that what Antonio Brown did?
No, he ran into the backyard, like I'm free or some shit
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. But was there a pool in the backyard? I
I'm
feel
not
like
sure.
I remember seeing a pool.
And thinking he was gonna jump in it.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
was. No, I was just gonna say that was he had like a full production behind that. The field shit was just clearly like a camera phone, but
Yeah, exactly.
Antonio
And this
Brown
was
had all
today?
these plans. It was a
Oh.
couple days ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
I saw it
didn't see
like
it
3,
blow
4
up
days
or
ago.
anything.
It's a weird video. I feel like there's not enough there for like ESPN to really do anything with it.
There's too much like inference or whatever.
Yeah, there's too much kind of like to be kind of read into it, and there's really not. It's weird because there's nothing there, but there's something there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
But you
That's how I
can't.
took it.
But it's like you can't point to anything specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's
You don't want to jump the gun.
like, listen, for all I know, it could have been somebody, telling him some good news about something completely unrelated to football. But he did say something, like you said, he says something like we're going home or something like that. And I saw there was a gambling account that had posted it. But yeah, I like it was a weird kind of video. He didn't say anything. He looked very off-season-y, I guess. Not that he looked in bad shape, but like he had like a beard. His hair was mad long. Like he was like with gray sweat. Like it's kind of dark. It's not very close. Like you can't like I'm telling you, I had to look at it a couple of times just to because like. When I saw the caption, it says something Justin Fields something, and the first time I watched the video, I'm like waiting for him to come into the video. I thought he was gonna come in and say something, and I'm like, oh wait, is that him there jumping? Like I didn't, you know what I'm saying. Like it was something, but it wasn't really, wasn't nothing nothing tangible that you could, grab onto.
This is what
Yeah.
I did a Twitter search for Justin Fields, and the thing that pops up is a person who looks a little bit like Justin Fields, like Justin Fields and Patrick Mahomes mixed, maybe like Spencer Rattler, with a with a Baywatch hoodie on, with fishnet leggings on, and
Yeah.
it says Justin Fields spotted with Meek Mill in Atlanta.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Get off of the fucking Twitter.
I was literally looking for the video.
I know. I'll tell you this though, to not to drag venture off too much. I was actually brought that up today to my man's. Like, I almost rather, if we're in that spot, I almost rather go get Fields. You know what I'm saying? Like, rather than reach for some QB that, you know what I mean, that we don't
You
know.
already have a quarterback guy.
There was a dude on
That's the
WFAN that was
thing.
talking about that. That had brought up, that had proposed the possibility that the Giants trade for Justin Fields, but
The only issue is that if we get Fields, then
He's
what are
black.
we doing what are you doing with Jones? What the fuck just
they'll
happened?
have him like in that Eddie Murphy SNL joint where he paints his face white and puts the mustache and he's walking around white like me or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And he goes into the bank to get a loan. Yo, that's one of the all-time skits, bro. When he gets on the why do they party on the bus when there's no black people? He gets on the bus, and the only other black dude gets off the bus. All of a sudden, they're serving champagne and there's everybody's dancing. I'm like, yo, come on, man, what is this?
Yeah, that's what they be doing.
Not on these buses in the city, bro. Because first of all, there is no route that there's ever not a black person on the bus.
Yeah.
That does not exist in New York City, so you can forget that. That day has gone. It's nothing but high schoolers getting into fights on the city buses nowadays.
That's right. Wait, I sent y'all that tweet or whatever. I found it personally funny. I don't know Cheeks, because I don't know how many shiesties he sees down there in Florida. But do the young kids be rocking the joints, the whole face mask joint, or not?
Not really. You get shot out here wearing that shit.
For
bro.
wearing it,
Hell
like
yeah.
by the
out here.
cops?
For not wearing.
Nah, anybody, bro. Bro, I swear to God, I look over my shoulder more out here than I ever did in New York, nigga, even in Queens. Like, I feel like somebody's just gonna pop me because I'm a fucking New Yorker. Like, I swear to God, I feel that way.
That's
I
crazy.
feel the hate sometimes. Like, I
It's
feel
like
like
yeah, like The Wire, like when they were looking for dudes that were like from New York, just like to make a statement.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that's how it be out here, man. You gotta be careful just being black and brown out here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That shit is crazy.
that's serious though. It sounds crazy, but it's dead serious, bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
But-
That just sounds like the wild. I want to say the wild west, but it's the wild south.
It is. It's the Wild Wild South, and and even for my 19-year-old son to be like, who's only lived in the earth for 19 years and only has like fucking 15 years of really understanding life, or even that. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, yo, this not. He's like, when I say that shit, Wild Wild West shit, he goes, that's exactly what this is. It's like, there's no holds bars, and I'm like, yeah, that shit is crazy. It's fucking nuts.
I just don't understand.
fucking
Like,
nuts.
like it's crazy because I just don't understand. Like,
Bro, some
like-
old man came up to me. My fault. I don't mean to cut you. Some old man came up to me in the middle of the fucking job and goes, "Hey, did you hear about that freaking migrant that raped and killed that girl?" And I'm like, "Nah, which one?" And he goes, and then he's like, "Right here in Georgia." And he's literally just goes in the middle of the fucking workplace and into a whole dive into the conspiracy theory of or whatever of fucking immigrants destroying fucking white America and how whites are like dying and they need to be
I mean, does he mention any of the the white people that kill anybody on any given day.
Bro, I wanted to dive in and.
It's not. It's pointless. You know what?
It's
You know,
pointless.
right? You know, you're right. It's pointless. It's pointless because.
And then a Venezuelan nigga that's cool that I'm cool with comes in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the Venezuelan guy," and he's like all pro that shit. And it's like, are you really pro that shit?
But some of these some of this shit, they gotta dial it back.
Yeah.
Yo, these Venezuelans coming down, yo, some of these niggas is really real. Like they're worse than the fucking the Hondurans.
My mom's a Republican. She fucking comes to me. She's like, "You heard about the new gang?" I said, "Mom, every 4 years there's a fucking new gang that's gonna take over fucking America. Stop."
Yeah.
I swear to God, every 4 years there's a new gang that's gonna take over and rape all the white women and they're gonna take all our jobs and they're gonna kill all our people. Every 4 years, man. That shit is not coincidental, man.
Yeah,
but anyway.
It still hasn't happened yet. That's crazy.
It hasn't happened.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, but you know what it is? It's like they gotta make you think that that's gonna happen so that A, you can still get your guns. You know what I'm saying? And B, you can live your life perpetually scared because nothing like the most manliest thing in America that American white men and all this shit could do is just be always scared of fucking immigrants or having their house taken or having their land taken over from
Yeah.
It's like
crazy
because it happens all the time. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy to the point where I question, like, am I in danger because I don't have a gun?
Yo, I'm not. Yo, that shit crossed my mind. The only reason is because, like, I have kids here and I don't have anywhere to fucking.
Yeah, that's always been my issue.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah,
that's the shit. But I don't want to be caught fucking lacking by these motherfucking. Yo, when the shit when the elections was going on, like I was stuck in traffic and it was like these motherfuckers coming up from upstate, like. Not even that it's only upstate, but what I'm saying is like, yo, caravans of fucking pickup trucks and shit, like making traffic and shit, like with all these fucking flags driving by my house, driving by my crib, like, cause I live next to a road, like next to the road, like honking fucking horns, and I'm like, yo, nigga, like, I don't know what these motherfuckers like think they could get away with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you gotta be careful, bro. Gotta be careful. It's crazy.
There's always a caravan coming, but the caravans are coming from South America. Those are the caravans you gotta watch out for.
Those are the ones, because those are the ones that I see all the time, not the actual ones that I see. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the problem, because they're coming through the border. Because New York has these shitty borders, and that's why. That's why we're getting all the immigrants here, because the borders of of New York City, open borders in New York City, they got all these immigrants coming in through there. You know what I'm saying? and Joe Biden and Obama have to figure this shit out. America.
What does Obama have to do with it?
Obama has everything to do with it.
Yeah, Obama's always mentioned.
You just don't know. Clearly.
Obama's always, these guys love mentioning Obama.
Figures.
Obama hasn't been the fucking president like.
Obama,
years.
Obama's the best. Ooh, yeah, black.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. But yeah, it's time for me to grip up, man. I think that's what this topic is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, out here is different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas always had their little, ability to get to things, but I mean. Carrying it, like, I've never done like no shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like, you know what I mean? So now, like, in that sense, yeah, it almost feels that way. But I don't know, something about me is like, I'm always like that. I always tell myself like, oh, shut up, stop being so paranoid, like, you know what I mean? But I be feeling that way sometimes, man. You see a motherfucker just walking in the grocery store grilling you, and he's carrying. It's like you're like,
almost like they're looking for something. They're looking for something for you to react so that they can react and like do some shit.
Like,
and then
they're in the mood. Exactly. If they're in the mood, they can just end you and just be like, "Oh, he was taking my job. He was trying to take my fucking job.
He was gonna rob me. What do you mean, sir? I mean, he was gonna steal my job from me.
He was gonna take my job title. It's like you ever see like Back to the Future when the blurry picture, like the half fade faded picture, he's looking at his title or his fucking his work badge, and it's like changing into like half Hispanic face.
Never seen Back to the Future.
Yeah, I just made that reference today, a Back to the Future reference. Today.
Yeah, I never seen any of them.
It's a good movie. I can't say that I've seen it from beginning to end or know which one's which, like, you know, like because both of them are pretty good. Like from what I saw, pretty good movies. I can't say that I've. No, but I don't really like the third one. Really, you know, I don't really consider it. It's like the Godfather
really?
movies.
Well, I can feel myself getting ready to say something awful, even more awful than the things I've already said. So I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm not even gonna get into that. Before we get into trouble, or before I get into trouble, more trouble. But
All right.
so next week we will have the
Officially.
Rosies, the official Rose. Is it the Rosies? Are we going with the Rosies?
Let's go with the
Or
Rose.
should we go with the
Pockets
Ridleys?
full-
Or should we go?
Pocket full of posies.
I feel like here's what I was thinking, and y'all could tell me if I'm crazy.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, if it's the Rosies, we can call it the Rosés. And to all the winners, we send them a bottle of rosé.
Fire.
We send them a bottle of rosé, and maybe we could send them a bottle of rosé and a rose. Congratulations.
Or a picture of Rick Ross without a shirt on.
That too. Or maybe
but
maybe
that's
who
cheaper.
knows? He could be eligible to win a rosé. Did you see his Sunday conversation with that dude?
Yo, you consume a lot of shit.
Yeah, I
No,
don't
it's,
get
I
it.
can't
I
even
don't
watch
know.
Back to the Future because I gotta watch fucking Dwayne Wade and Carmelo talking. Nah, that Sunday conversation shit is like 3 minutes long.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm talking about? That shit with Caleb Presley where he's asking weird, stupid questions and
No, I thought it was actually
the
on
ESPN joint.
Yeah.
You don't know Sunday conversation?
No.
Me, no. I'm not.
Oh wow! All right, I'll send y'all the
I'm like the worst.
Those shits are mad funny, yo. The one he did with why I just thought of it because he did one with Rick Ross, and that shit was mad stupid. He's done it with pretty much everybody. He did one with Drake where he was where he said to Drake, what did he say?
Kevin Presley?
Caleb Presley. I'll send you the link.
He was from Barstool, right?
Yes, yeah, he did. But so he does these Sunday conversation things. But they're mad short. They're not even a podcast. It's just like a stupid video where he asks these mad ridiculous questions and people give mad stupid ass answers, and this shit is just mad ridiculous. And there's always this fat guy in the background eating ice cream. I forget what his name is, and he's always wearing like some crazy costume. This shit is mad stupid. But when he was talking to Rick Ross, he says something about dolphin. Rick Ross was like, "Yeah, I saw a dolphin." Meep 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 meep. That shit was so stupid. I was like, "Yo, this motherfucker's an idiot." Oh my god.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that note, I talked way too much. I apologize.
Nah.
I went off on a rant. I've been listening to too many podcasts. I'm
Kevin
stressed.
Durant.
I'm stressed out. Kevin Durant. That was the other one that I
Durant.
watched where he's talking to this guy.
No, you're Kevin Durant.
No, yeah, I'm following you. But
That's hard.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. But that guy, who was his man's name? His partner / agent manager, Kleiman, Rich Kleiman.
It's Rich Kleiman.
Yeah, it was them talking for like an hour.
The Knicks are cool now.
Well, he brought that up. He
Yeah,
said
I did see that.
he was
I
like,
saw
please
that.
tell everybody that I wanted you to go to the Knicks. How bad I wanted you to go to the Knicks. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen that. I seen that. He's
Yeah.
like, you
And
did.
have you seen
did.
the KD with David Letterman shit?
No.
Yeah.
That's just mad funny. That's just
That's
when,
mad long
when,
ago.
when he said to him, yeah, it was a while ago. When he said to him, the funniest part to me was when he said to Kevin Durant, and he asked him about smoking weed, and he was like, "I'm high right now." That shit was amazing, yo. That was the hardest shit Kevin Durant has ever done in his life, yo. When he's like, oh, he's like, you smoke weed, and he was like, "I'm high right now." That shit was
That's
my
Sounds
life.
nonchalant.
My life. I almost I bought a pair of Kevin Durant shoes that day when he said that. Shit was amazing.
That's hard.
But on that note, another episode in the books. Next week, big award show. Who's gonna win the Bozo of the Year? We got to crown our Bozo of the Year. I don't know, man. At first, I
That's
thought it
tough.
was gonna be a hands down Josh McDaniel, but I started thinking more about it, and I was like, yo, we got a couple of legitimate
Yeah.
nominees. Like
Mhm.
Frank Reich, I almost forgot he was a coach last year.
Yeah, but
I almost
he,
forgot about him.
he's a rich bozo, so you know what I'm
Rich
saying. He's getting
Bozo.
paid from
Wait, what do you mean a rich bozo?
he's getting paid from two different teams right now for not doing a goddamn thing. So he
That's
can
true.
be a bozo,
That's true.
but
Well,
he's never
but
gonna
maybe
last.
that should earn him Bozo of the Year. I mean, it doesn't necessarily
Yeah, but
have
this
to
is
be a bad
yeah, well,
thing.
that's in the positive
Yeah.
connotation.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. We got to reserve the Bozo of the Year. Cannot be
So
celebrated really.
so we're each gonna do each gonna do a bozo, and
Alright,
then
yeah.
just a standard MVP, all that defensive MVP, and then we got our own personal awards. Correct?
Yeah, I got a offensive, a defensive, a coach, and then I have 5 personals. I have the
5
broadcaster.
personal, okay.
Yeah, I have the broadcaster. I have the broadcaster of the year. I have the non-broadcast analyst of the year. I have the NFL player personality of the year. I have the the dog of the year, and I have the team no sleep award.
Got you.
I got 4 personal right now. I gotta
All
come
right.
up.
So, if we could, I don't know, maybe if we could do it maybe Wednesday or something like that. That way we could like maybe put it out Thursday. Or
Well,
is
let's
that-
end this show. We don't want to give any spoilers out. We don't want
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
to know who's going to win which award. So, with that being said, signing off. We'll see you at the Rosés.
Yes, sir.
Go Mets.
All right.